Alright. Hello. I'm here to talk to you about what they call a Swiss arrow or a Swiss dart or a throwing dart. Whatever you prefer, it's up to you. This isn't really too, I guess, too standard. Like, I'm living in prehistoric times, but the idea is there. Um, it's a simple weapon to make. It maybe took me 10 minutes at the most. That doesn't include buying the dowel. That took longer because I had to drive somewhere and get it. But once I had all the materials, um, I made it in 10 minutes. You can make it out of a stick you see in the woods, or you could make it out of a dowel like I did. This dowel is an oak dowel. With a Swiss dart or just a throwing dart like this, you could use any really hardwood dowel. This happens to be 5/16. This is a 5/16 dowel. It was like $1.05 at Lowe's. I made my fletchings. I got 4 of them here. Out of duct tape. Duct tape's really cheap. If you're really concerned, you can buy like a whole roll for like $3, and there's like 500 feet or more on a roll of duct tape. And I've used I'd say a foot. I used a foot all together to make 4 fletchings. Really easy to do. You put 2 pieces of duct tape side by side. You seal them together, and then you cut it down the scale to get your width of your fletchings. You can decorate them, make them look good, whatever you want to do, make them look pretty. This is just kind of a target, a first time throwing dart I made, so I didn't really care. I didn't really put a tip on it, as you can see. I just kind of sharpened the end. This is about 35 inches. It's pretty long for a regular bow arrow, but if you have the right bow, you could shoot an arrow this long. You can make arrows out of these dowels if you have a recurve or a longbow. I'll be making a series on that later, a video on that later to show you what those are like. Kind of the same principle as making this though. Really simple, like I said. I didn't really buy a tip or make a tip for a broadhead. I have them, I've made them. But like I said, it's just target arrow or dart. This one has 4 fletchings. You could have 3, you could have 2. You could have 1 if you wanted to. I've never seen it. You could try to go crazy and go for 5, but after a while, I think 4 is a good limit. There's only one real woodworking hard thing you got to do that takes a little bit of time. Is this notch? Not a knock. It's more of a notch right here. If you can see that in the wood, where it's indented. I just took a file and I took a saw and went on each side where I wanted a little knock, and then I filed in between those 2 cuts, and I got a little knock here. Don't try to chip the wood away. If you chip the wood or try to chip it, you'll weaken the wood. So if you just file it away, it keeps its strength. That took probably the longest, was just cutting that knock in it without breaking it, making it smooth. And then next was the fletchings. Those took a little time. And then the tip, just sharpened it with a knife. And then your last material you'll need, you've probably seen this waving around, it's just a piece of string. Not string, really paracord, or a thicker braided rope, I guess. Not really a rope, but a string, thicker string. Maybe a shoelace if you wanted to try, I guess. Whatever you have sitting around the house, you can use whatever. You tie a knot on one end. This is essential. And then I tied a loop around my hand so it stays on my hand. It's a sliding knot, so I can slide it like this. Make the loop really big, and then put my hand on there, and I tighten it down. That's how I did it. Find your own way. Like I said, a little history on these. they're like arrows, and then but they're not. They're built kind of the same way, except you make your cuts different places. These are pretty long, again, for to be an arrow. This is 35 inches, 34, 35 inches, whatever you want to say. Really long for a bow. If you wanted to, you could shoot an arrow, like I said, that long, or, you know, that's pretty long though. This is definitely shorter than a javelin, and javelins are a little bit more heavier and a little bit more thicker on the wood, or the shaft, I guess. And definitely, this is way shorter than an atlatl, but it shares the same principles as an atlatl. An atlatl was almost 7 feet long. It could be 7 feet long. Those things were very long. But these share the same idea with extra leverage. Just like if you're throwing a spear, you know, I'm going like this with the spear. I've only got the one pivot point of my elbow. That's it. That's all my momentum is, that, because my wrist has to stay straight. But with this, it creates another one. With this string, I have my elbow and my wrist, with my hand up here, and the string's going to be back here, acting as another arm to sling it forward more in momentum. These weapons are great to just learn how to use. They're great survival weapons if you're ever in a situation where you need to get some kind of weapon made quickly. You could use, like if you had duct tape, you could use duct tape with a straight stick. Not necessarily does it have to be a dowel. And if you didn't have duct tape, you could use basically anything like a feather, or you could find something to make fletching out of. But this is a great weapon, a great simple weapon to try to learn how to use in a survival situation. But the one thing is, we don't know a lot about them. They could have been used in warfare, which to me seems kind of plausible. And they could have been used in hunting. They probably were used in hunting. That's probably why they were developed. Obviously, early man wanted something to hunt with. They were used in, obviously, probably mass numbers to take down a mastodon, or a woolly mammoth, as everyone knows them by. I could see this maybe taking out a deer. White-tailed deer in Michigan, this is where it is at. I'm at, is Michigan. So a lot of times we hunt deer and bigger game here. But you'd have to be extremely close to use this weapon effectively with, let's say, a broadhead point on it to kill a deer. If you can get 10, 15 yards away from a deer and be a crack shot with this, you know, more power to you. These could be definitely used for war. I don't see why they couldn't be. They could be launched in a barrage, just like you see in the movies with arrows, which that actually never happened. They never actually shot in the air with arrows, because arrows are very expensive. So, the only thing about this, though, I've found is I've been shooting it for 2 days now, using this for 2 days now. It's kind of hard to aim, but I mean, once you get the idea down, it's the same thing over and over. It's just, can you hit that target? So, I mean, if you wanted to, when you're using them, making one, you could always put a tip on it if you want. I'm not going to use it to hunt with. It's a good survival tool to have. Like I said, they're not range effective. Maybe 10, 15 yards at the most. I'll be shooting it at about probably 8 yards, 7 yards, and just seeing if I can hit the target. So let's see if I can do this. Wow, center shot. That was pretty good. Let's check that out. There we go. Right there, center shot. Just like that. And I'll try it one more time. Oh, and look, it went in maybe 1.5 inches with no tip on the end, just kind of a sharpened point. It might go in deeper if you actually have a point on it. You know, I don't know. So, I'll try this again. Go again. Try one more time. But as you can see, it's just like throwing a baseball. You just kind of hold it. I like to hold it with my thumb and my 2 fingers there. It's the way I do it. You can learn your own way too, I guess. This is only my second day shooting it, so.